What is going on, everyone? Welcome into the all-new Oregon Ducks live show here on the Voice of College Football. Welcome in, everyone. Thank you to everyone who's tuning back in as usual. If you're new here, first time looking in, consider hitting that like and subscribe. And we have our usual suspects here. We have Derek and we have Spaz, who tonight is just quack. Don't know why, but he is.
Quack.
How are you guys doing tonight?
Good.
Yeah, doing well, man.
Wow, very insightful. Yeah, very insightful.
Just really excited to dig into some Duck football, per usual.
Well, we got a lot to talk about because we did a pretty good coverage, but Spaz wasn't there. He wasn't able to make it with his internet situation on Saturday night because obviously there was a lot to discuss that night, and we're coming off that week. So there are things, still to go back, look at, discuss, kind of break down a little bit. Now that I've had time, especially to watch the broadcast from being there live in person, you get a whole different vantage point of the game. And then the final stats and all that type of stuff. So, Spaz, you weren't there on the Saturday night show. You've gotten to watch the game now. What did you see? What did you like? What didn't you like?
Couple things that I saw was definitely again our in the first half, especially early in the first half and in that third quarter, our interior deep, our front seven was just getting massacred and opening holes for Tyler left and right. I mean, he had that 50-some yard run in the first quarter, and then I think he had another 30-yard run in the third quarter. And then it was okay, second quarter, early third quarter, it was okay. And then all of a sudden the bottom fell out of the secondary again, and he's throwing darts all over the field again. And it's what is going on with this defense? And then the penalties, 2 penalties in the first game. And I think we had 14 Saturday. It's just man. And that first personal foul, that second drive, I think that Tech had when our cornerback just ran right through the receiver. I'm
yeah, he did not run. He did not run through him. He jumped into the receiver. That was.
Terrible. It was just what are you doing? I just could not understand the I can't even think of the word.
The logic he was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what are you thinking right there? It's 3rd and 14 and you just run the guy over. What are you doing? But I really liked the end. I liked the way we came back and battled in that fourth quarter, that last few minutes of the third quarter when we got that turnover. It just changed the complexion of the game, and they went down and scored that first or second play of the fourth quarter. And I think it just re-energized our defense again, and it just gave us that opportunity to put that game away finally.
And that's it. We talked at length too, especially Saturday night. That's why I wanted to get your take there, because we went over it, for, at least an hour and a half. Then we got a little sidetracked at the very end of the show. So what we're looking at right now is, recapping really quickly the heart attack game as being the Duck fans. There have been a few too many of these in the last few years. And so that's why we got up our stats too, because this is these numbers are important to look at and understand too, because watching the game and then really looking at it later is two different things. Because while it looked, iffy at times here and there, especially defensively, offensively, we did not run the ball well at all. Bo Nix was the leading rusher, as well as for them, Shock was the leading rusher. But the difference at 9 carries for Bo Nix, and most of those were just scrambles when he needed to. Whereas Tyler Shuck, most of these 23 carries he had were actually designed for him to do that.
Yeah, and that's one thing that, Joey McGuire had kind of mentioned that in his pressers post-game, that they kind of knew they wanted Tyler Shuck to run the ball. And I believe out of those 23 carries, it was something like 18 to 19 of those were designed runs.
Yeah.
And, that was kind of a vast difference between that and the previous week when they were in Wyoming. Just Tyler Shuck didn't have a designed run until they hit overtime. So, it just kind of shows you they had a very clear game plan coming into this game. And, 23 carries for 101 and a touchdown, I would say they executed.
And in Wyoming, they probably didn't want to show a lot of those because of
Absolutely.
potentially. So they were saving that as much as they could. But that's a lot for a quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah, 23 carries is a lot.
This is about where we want to see Nix. 8 to 10 maybe carries a game. That's about where you want to see Nix at most. And he made heavy use of it, especially like that 16-yard run. I think that was the long one. That was that 3rd and 11 that he converted to keep one of those drives going.
Yeah. If Nix is running the ball 20 to 25 times a game, we're going to have problems.
Yeah, right. We're probably not doing something right getting to that point because that's for Bo Nix and, kind of what he means to our team and how this offense functions. That's completely unacceptable to see something like that. I don't think we're going to see Bo Nix have 23 carries in a game this season.
I hope not. I hope not.
You and
Does
me
anybody
both.
know what the most he had was in a game last year? Or how we would find that out?
You just look up 2022 rushing attempts for Bo Nix.
Yeah.
It'll give you a breakdown, but no, I don't off the top of my head.
It's probably around 10 to 12. I mean, if you take out some of the quarterback sneaks, like those don't really. They count, but it's different than him actually running or read option or whatever. Those are kind of different, but probably somewhere in that range, 10 to 12, 13 maybe at most.
Right. I know early season, he was kind of using his legs a little bit more and kind of tapered off there once he injured his ankle. But yeah, I like to see this though. I like to see this 9 carries. And one thing that we saw is he wasn't getting hit on these 9 carries. He's learning to slide, or I guess I would attempt to call it a slide.
Fall
yeah.
at least.
A semi-graceful fall, if you will. Yeah. But yeah, he's not taking these big hits, which is, that's huge because these big hits clearly add up over a season. And week 2, if our quarterback's getting slammed, probably not looking good in the long term.
Yeah.
And like with the passing numbers, this is why I was like, I mean, the running wasn't doing a whole lot after the first quarter. The running game was not working the way we were hoping it would or thought it would. Some of that's the O-line. Other than that is also just Texas Tech being committed to stopping the running game. But then you see the advantage then in the passing yardage. And, of course, no turnovers.
Yeah.
Zero turnovers. That's the big one.
Oregon absolutely dominated the turnover margin in that game. And, they needed every bit of it.
Receiving, of course, they spread the ball around too, just like us. They had a bunch of guys getting multiple catches, lost singles, and then Nix, of course, was throwing the ball to everyone he could find, which is credit to Tech's defense, what they were doing.
Yeah. I mean, I would say what's almost even more impressive, if we're looking at this right now, there are 2 primary wide receivers on Oregon's receiving list that have multiple catches. Trayshawn Holden and Gary Bryan both having 1. And then our leading receivers, we're seeing our top 2 backs, 2 tight ends, and our RB3 at the bottom.
Does anybody know why we didn't seem to rush the ball as well against Tech this week?
I'm gonna lean. It was more Tech's defensive game plan. Like they, in person, watching them try to rush that line, they were not gonna give up rushing yards. That was like one of their goals. They wanted to make us have to pass the ball.
Mhm.
That's what it seemed like to me in person watching it. And they did a damn good job of it. I mean, they did a great job until Nick started running. And they still did a really good job, though, containing everything. So,
and then in years past, that could have hurt Duck teams in the years past, especially the last couple of years, by not allowing the running game to get rolling. But obviously, this year, as people are slowly starting to find out, Bo has some weapons this year, and people forget he even missed the first shot to Ferguson. Yeah, missed the first shot to him, and then that second shot he got on the 72-yard bomb.
well, like here's what Jason just said too is and that's one thing we talked about was Nick's was that he overcomplicated multiple passes. He had a guy wide open in the middle of the field, and he just for some reason went to the sideline for a much more difficult throw. I don't know. That's probably what he was just seeing because of the D line, the pressure. But as Jason said here, the Tech's D line is all seniors,
and they're all athletic.
They're big.
Yeah, they were not playing around in this game.
Well, no, in between that and their linebacker play, I mean, they crashed every gap every time they needed to. I mean, obviously, I think there was we had one run over 10 yards at one point, not accounting the Bo Nix run. But they filled gaps extremely well. I think Oregon realized right away that in order to kind of keep pace and do what they needed to do on offense, they understood that they needed to throw the ball to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, in the sense of impressive, what we were kind of hoping for, it wasn't exactly that, but it was what we expected in the sense of that it was going to be it wasn't going to be like the easiest of games. This was not going to be Portland State. As much as I hoped it would be, I was like, I want to run them out of the stadium by halftime. That'd be great. But we expected a close one. This was maybe a little closer than we were hoping. Coming down to like literally a minute and 10 seconds left or whatever. Offensively, I've seen a bunch of people be very critical of Will Stein. And as far as I'm aware, he's doing all the play calling. Dan Lanning is not. He may say, hey, we're going for it on fourth down, whatever. Get a play going. But as far as I'm aware, Will Stein is doing all the play calling independently. What did you guys think looking back at this game now? Giving him a grade so far, 2 games in. Because I've seen a bunch of people say, this sucks. This is good. Where do you guys stand with Will Stein at this moment?
I think he's doing just fine.
Yeah, you like to see what he's doing, Spaz? You think play calling looks good? Anything you would change?
I mean, no. I mean, really, you kind of did what you had to do last week, and that's the kind of game plan you're going to have to make going forward. Is obviously they saw in that first quarter that, okay, we're not going to be able to run the ball against these guys, at least not up the middle and effectively like we have in the past. So we're going to have to make adjustments. And they made those adjustments very quickly and very swiftly to what they had to do. And I think in all regards, how many times do we even punt the ball? I mean, really, 3 times the whole game?
2? I believe it was 2.
I think it was
yeah. So
yeah, somewhere in there, that 2 to 4 range.
So I mean, that shows that your play calling was pretty effective, because if you're not having to punt, if you're not going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, your play caller is probably pretty good then.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest, Baz, I would almost mirror those points exactly. I think going into an environment like Texas Tech on the road with an offensive line that has not really gelled together. You know, you got some guys in here who it's their first true road test in college football. I'm thinking of like Josh Connerly in specific. But he went in there, and what we saw was he was able to make these adjustments, right? So we know that we went in there and we probably wanted to be able to move the ball on the ground, control the tempo, control the pace of the game, you know, have the game go how we want it to go. That wasn't there. You know, and then that's credit to Tim DeRuyter and that Red Raiders defense. They did a fantastic job plugging those holes and kind of shutting Oregon down. But to Will Stein's credit, I think this shows that he's able to make those adjustments. And one thing I'm kind of looking at here, if we go down and look at our receiving yards, and we're going down and looking at each receiver here, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys just in this frame right now. Yep, 5 guys total. 6 guys with Trayshawn who had an explosive play, right? Over 20 yards. That tells me that, you know, the avenues are there for these big plays, and the Red Raider defense did a good job of shutting that down when they had to. So to be real honest, I'm quite comfortable with Will Stein and his play calling, and I do trust it going into conference play. I would trust it if we had to go play UW or USC tomorrow. I don't think he's done anything to make us think that we shouldn't trust him. He's done nothing but put up 81 points in week 2 and come to an extremely tough environment and overcome adversity with his team. So, I mean, I have no complaints.
Yeah. Buzzer Baby says it very well too. If this was Mario's team, he'd have just kept running it up the middle. Will adapted to what Tech was giving us, which is exactly what Ben's point was earlier about how their line was taking control, not letting us run.
Yeah, and I mean, that's part of it, as we've mentioned multiple times at the beginning of the season, before the season, all that stuff. The O-line is new guys playing together. They haven't quite gelled yet. Getting over this type of hump, regardless the rushing wasn't great, which the rushing has to get better. They gave up 1 sack, which was one of those kind of like Bo running up the middle, kind of got caught as he was trying to escape kind of sacks. So still did not give up a sack. So that's against that line, which is pretty good. But as to like Mark's here, the players dropping the balls, yeah, there were some of those. I agree. But again, Nix did make things more complicated for himself for some reason, because there was at least 3 times that I remember the same where there was a guy right over the middle, wide open for like 5-6 yards. He probably could run for 10, but he took the more difficult sideline shot for whatever reason, whether it was just quick reaction because of the pressure. It's hard to say. We're not on the field. We're just evaluating. What he feels and what we feel are 2 different things, obviously. So I'm not going to be the chair coach over here. You know, I'm not going to be that guy. So, but yeah, I think they need to look at that and evaluate that a little bit. And I think they'll get on that this week, hopefully. Mm-hmm. And I'm the same with you, though. Offensively, I like we said on Saturday night, I think we see what this offense is going to be. It will adjust if needed, but also it's going to be a little more air raid. And they're not air raid like Mike Leach, but it's going to be much more. It's going to be a bit more pass happy than in times past, and I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that. If it's effective, why stop? Why don't? Why not? If it's effective.
Right. I mean, when you have the receiving core that we currently have, we have the deepest wide receiver room we've had since our 2014 college football playoff team, you know? So, yeah, I'm excited to see him open it up.
If Bo makes good decisions, then why not? Yeah, I mean, give everyone a chance to show out and put up their numbers.
We'll see guys get their opportunities. You know, once we get into Pac-12 play, we know how this goes. All of a sudden, it's going to be late game and we're leading on, you know, Trayshawn Holden to come up with a big play late game. You know, these guys are going to come into a time where they are absolutely essential, and I'm excited to see that.
Now, looking at kind of touched upon it, of course, a little bit, the defensive side of it, and there was a comment here I wanted to touch upon really fast, because Mark here was behind me in the stadium and didn't say anything to me. He didn't say, hi, hey, I know you're hosting the Oregon show and shit.
Mark.
He didn't say anything to me in person.
Come on, man, you're going to drop it.
He just walked away. I was in row 9. right behind the bench too.
It's all right. I'm just glad he's in here tonight.
But yeah, exactly what he's saying. Team's resilience, and then we'll talk about the defense. But that's it. And I mentioned this on Saturday night, how Hill went over to the side, got on the bench, pulled all the defensive players around him, and he started laying into people, just like I told you. Lupoy almost had the Mario headset smash on the sideline in the late third quarter, early fourth quarter, because he was so pissed. He was just telling him, stop messing up your assignments. Like, people are in the right places. Not all the calls were great, but stop messing up the simple things. And they both got into him. So I said, I like how I see the players now yelling at each other, going, hey, we're better than this. Do your job, basically.
Yeah, leadership and accountability.
Yeah, and then the fourth quarter, I would have been more, but again, they stopped selling beer at the beginning of the fourth quarter, so I couldn't get any more beer because I really needed another one by the start.
How do you not know that? Have you not been to an event before, Ben?
It's been a while since I did it. At SMU, I left before the third quarter. I went to an SMU game a few years ago, and I left before the fourth quarter. So
man, that's been the running thing for a while. Is like, yeah, third quarter, seventh inning stretch, sales are over, baby.
Blah, 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 blah. All right. Anyways, yeah, the team resiliency I thought was pretty good, especially again seeing Lupoy just tearing into everyone the whole game, and then Hill getting up there and calling people out basically. I thought that's what we need. We need that couple people on each side of the ball that will start pointing out things to players, going, "Hey, do your job." And it made a huge difference in the fourth quarter. That's for sure.
Brendan's over here crying.
Well, you've got I emailed you the link. So what defensively? What did you think? Because I know we talked about this on Saturday, so we don't want to beat this to death. I know you, Derek, did not like some of the coverages. The single linebacker, which I rewatched the tape, and I'm like, what were they thinking with some of those?
I was a little hot coming off of it, and I can. I'm going to admit when I was wrong a little bit, just kind of rewatching it back. I think I would like to take back my word a little bit and give a little more credit to kind of how our secondary played. Now, was it perfect? No. But then, to be honest, there were some costly penalties. But what I did see, I thought our secondary played fine. What I think Tech did a really great job of was bunching up their receivers, understanding the schematics of this Oregon defense, and understanding that they're giving themselves an advantage by lining up a linebacker on, quite frankly, someone who's a little more athletic in terms of size and speed at the position. I think
isn't their tight end literally like 6'9"?
What? They're it's like
he's a big dude.
And there was just some like athletic disadvantages schematically speaking because of what Tech was doing in their little bunch formation and kind of the defense Oregon kept rolling with. I think the secondary really was fine. I am kind of curious to see how this plays out. I don't think Hawaii is going to be the greatest of tests per se, although they are a pass happy offense. We'll get into that a little bit.
Yeah.
But we're going to find out a lot come next week when Colorado comes into town. They like to spread the ball out, and we're going to see them throw the ball over the yard. So we're going to find out exactly what our secondary is made of. But like I said, I'd like to go back and I'd like to give the flowers to the secondary. I think they played just fine.
Yeah, watching it again, like I said, from the broadcast perspective, outside of a few, obviously there were a few deep shots that Tech got, and then obviously the pass interferences, which for the most part were really just blatant pass interference calls. No problem with that. Tech took what the defense gave them. They did a lot of short 5-6 yard, let the receiver do his work kind of thing, because they were worried about those deeper shots at that point. So Tech adjusted themselves. So again, you equally have to give credit to Tech for what they did. Both teams seemed to have a very good feel for what the other team wanted to do, and that made everything a little more difficult for each side. But I will say the defense, outside of the pass interferences and some of the lazy, just poor judgment penalties in the fourth quarter, especially when they needed to vote up. Yeah.
But when was the last time you saw an Oregon defense get 5 tackle for losses, 1 touchdown, and 4 sacks in the same game?
Yeah, I mean, that's something we definitely touched on Saturday as well, is that defensive front played phenomenally in my eyes. They were getting home. I mean, I wouldn't say it was as consistent necessarily as some of us would like to see. However, there was clear disruption that was happening in the backfield. We're seeing 4 sacks. And, a point that I brought up a week ago, if you told me that our front 7 were going to, get 6 or 4 sacks this weekend, I would have been thrilled. So I'm happy with it. And I think we only see that defensive front kind of strengthen up. So it's encouraging, for the year going forward.
Unsung hero of the defense through 2 games right now is Bryce Betcher. Flat out. Walk on that's just playing with money. And he is showing why he's a legit 2-star athlete. 2-sport athlete, excuse me.
Well, yeah, I know in spring game, he popped off. I was like, damn, that guy looks good. Then last week looked pretty good. And then Texas Tech, he was on and off the field a lot. That's why he only really has 3 total tackles, but he did get a sack. And I mean, to be basically a walk-on guy that gets in the rotation with your first-string guy, second-string guy, that's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he had 27 home runs and led the Ducks baseball team in batting average, I believe, this year. And I believe he was batting 3rd or cleanup all year. He's got an arm. So, I mean, the kid, I was shocked that he was playing football because I totally had forgot. But after watching that Portland State game and then him again coming right back in Saturday in the heat in the desert and just, the kid, he could be an honorable mention Pac-12 defensive second unit or whatnot this year for sure.
And I don't want to give full shout out, of course, to Jeffrey Bossa as usual. I think everyone knew after last year he was going to be really good this year again, of course, and he got the pick to seal the game. But also shout out to Mateo Yu here, H&R pick and stuff. No, Mateo is not a tight. Well, I mean, he might be built like a tight end, but he's a defensive end.
You never know. I've seen
he can do both. I'm sure he could play both, but no, he is a defensive end. But shout out to him too, because he actually should have had a sack in this game. Chuck was just loosened enough to slip away from him in one of those plays. But not too bad for his first full rotation in the lineup and on the road. Not too bad. So this is a promising thing from him also. No TFLs, but again, almost had a sack. So
yeah, for sure. I think another name that, the stats might not necessarily reflect it, but I think another person that had a really great game was Jaleel Florence. I think what we actually just saw happen this last week, and not a lot of Duck fans realize it, is I believe he just overtook Dante Manning's spot. He outsnapped him. He outsnapped him 59-20 this week in terms of that position. Jaleel Florence did over Dante Manning. So, I mean, if that's any indication of what our secondary is going to look like going forward, get used to hearing that name floating around back there.
Yeah, Jaleel Florence played much better coverage than Dante Manning has, for sure.
I mean, I will say a couple of guys obviously don't have any real stats here, but I mean, compared to like Tech, I mean, we rotated an extra what, 6 guys into this lineup. I mean, they were rotating, especially the D line. Oregon was rotating those guys in and out, in and out, in and out.
Yeah, it's nice to have that depth, be able to do that in, the sweltering heat of the desert.
Like, I don't even know who Blake Purchase is.
Blake, you're gonna know Blake Purchase is next year about this time. He was he was the linebacker out of Colorado. I think he was the #1 recruit out of Colorado this past season. He's a true freshman, but he's the one that Dion worked really hard to flip late cycle, and he ended up signing with the Ducks while everybody was holding their breath. But that man's gonna get some playing time.
I didn't even know he got in there, so that's why I was like, I don't even know who Blake Purchase is that I could think of off the top of my head. So I was like, Blake Purchase.
Yeah, you're right. Tony Manning has definitely underachieved since he's been here.
Yeah, he's had his moments.
Man, it's just what we thought we were getting. I mean, obviously, stars definitely don't mean anything, as we've seen multiple times. But, just what we thought we could have been getting and the potential that he had coming into camps from the previous years, he's definitely underperformed. That's nothing personal at him. It's just we have players out there who are who've overtaken him in the ability category, I think.
Yeah.
Well, besides looking at the offense or the defense, because again we did it, something we didn't touch upon Saturday night, and I wanted to make sure. Can we give Camden Lewis some love finally? Look at this man. Can we give this kicker a trophy already? This man has been almost nothing but consistent for the last couple of years. I mean, literally.
Yeah, Camden Lewis has been actually incredible. And I mean, I don't know if you guys remember so much when he came in, I believe it was 2019 and 2020, and he was anything but consistent. I was just looking at some of his stats previously, and I believe he had a couple 60-some percentage kicking years, and he's completely righted the ship to the point where I think Duck fans as a collective trust this man when he's trotting out there.
It's not Maldonado, that's for sure.
Yeah, and by all means, look, it was the long of this game for 3 for 3. The long was 34 yards. He didn't have to do anything crazy, but I saw him in warm-ups. He was hitting from 50.
Wow.
Easy.
Oh yeah.
We haven't had a kicker like that, I don't think, since Rob Beard.
Well, and just in the last 2 years alone, he's 10 out of 13 from 40 plus. So it's almost like, that 40-yard plus range, he's comfortable there. It's especially for a collegiate kicker. There are not a lot of consistent collegiate kickers. I think Camden Lewis is definitely butting into one of those guys who is in that category.
It's just nice to not see a field goal come up that's less than 30 yards and go, oh God, and be nervous.
Yeah, honestly.
Outside of the North Carolina State, the Holiday Bowl PAT last year, where it banged off the upright, and he was like, I don't know what happened. Still made
Don't
it, but
fate.
Because it's just nice because it was a funny thing because when before the game, Texas Tech did their starting lineup in the stadium for offense, defense, and special teams. And when they brought their kicker, because we talked about it, their kicker missed 3 field goals the week before at Wyoming. When he came up on the screen, the audience was like, oh, no. Oh, no. And he only missed the one, and that was like a 56-yard attempt.
Yeah, that's not
so he hit the long one. Everyone was like, yeah, But, yeah, so kickers are people's best friends or enemies.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah. Lewis deserves some love because at least he's been pretty spot on consistent at least.
Oh, most definitely.
But now, gentlemen, to the main event.
Dun 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 dun
Oregon.
Dun 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 dun.
To host the mighty Rainbow Warriors of Hawaii. which Hawaii has is. I apologize again. That email I said they were 0-2. They are 1-2. I forgot about their battle with the mighty University of Albany this last Saturday.
Great Danes.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh.
So they went on the road. They had a chance to tie it up with Vanderbilt late. They lost to Stanford at home. And then we're a little slugfest with Albany. But now they have to come to Autzen.
Yeah.
Not ideal for the Rainbow Warriors.
Yeah, you got to feel for them. You know, they're starting out 3 out of 4 weeks with a Power 5 team, and I think they ran into the worst of it right here. I think this weekend could get ugly.
Because
shout out to Marcus Mariota, who's trying to put 1,000 kids in, from Hawaii and or Oregon in the stands this weekend. That is his goal, and all proceeds will go to the Rebuild Maui project.
There you go. I did hear something about that. I didn't get the full gist of it earlier, though. I did hear something about that.
A man of the people.
Yeah.
I mean, you can look at these 2 losses. Against Stanford, I think I was a little more surprised how well Stanford played. But against Vanderbilt, it's Vanderbilt, but they were at Vanderbilt, and they actually probably maybe could have won. They could have won that game easily because they were driving at the end to tie it, but they also threw a pick in the end zone earlier. That would have maybe had it tied. So Hawaii's not. They're Hawaii.
Yeah, let's just keep in mind the 2 Power 5 teams they did play are probably going to be cellar dwellers in their respective conferences this year. So, you know, do with that information as you will. They're a Power 5 program, but
that's the other thing. Plus, I mean, look at the rushing.
Yeah, under 50 yards a game they're averaging by far. So that's something I was kind of going to dig into a little bit, but Hawaii's rushing game, they're a little undersized up front. They're a little undersized with their backs. It's I don't expect them to move the ball well on the ground. And as we see, you know, they're a pass-heavy offense. They're going to put the ball in the air, and that makes me excited. Kind of see how our secondary handles it, albeit Hawaii.
Yeah, the rushing, I mean, with the D-line, that should be no issue. But, yeah, passing, that makes me a little nervous. Yeah, to see if we can be in Hawaii, regardless, when they're throwing the ball that much, can the secondary actually hold up?
Yeah, and, you know I mentioned it kind of pre-show here, Ben, but Hawaii, they have 2 legitimate wide receivers, too. So, you know, it's not like they're running absolute nobodies out there on the end. You know, what's his name? Pofel Ashlock, the guy who has been leading the team in, you know, receiving. He's averaging 105 yards and a touchdown over 3 games so far this year. So, you know, they're feeding that man the ball. Their wide receiver, too, Stephen McBride. He's a former Power 5 receiver at Kansas. So, you know, the man can also play. They got some talent out there. We're going to be tested a little bit on the outside. Probably not in the game.
And their quarterback's not bad at all. I mean, I'm sure their percentage, he'd like his completion percentage to be a little bit better. But he does have 5 picks, so he's 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
But when you throw the ball that much, like they're doing, you kind of you're going to see a little bit higher interception.
Sure.
But he has been sacked 14 times already, too.
And that's kind of one of those things I was alluding to. They're very undersized up front. It's definitely going to be an opportunity to see, you know, some of our defensive front show what they're able to do. And then another thing we actually just learned today, Ben, kind of switching gears a little bit from the offense, their leading defender right up there, Logan Taylor, he's out for the year now. So I believe this morning, Logan Taylor leading the team in tackles with 21. He's a linebacker. They just confirmed this morning that he's going to be out for the year now. So they just lost their best defender as well, you know, up the middle, their defensive leader. So
that sucks.
Hawaii's got a very, very tall task this weekend ahead of them.
And they have a lot of, they have, like we just said, they have a lot of receivers, especially, their top two. Their top two have, 525 yards between the two of them and 8 touchdowns. And they have 2 or 3 really good, 4 pretty decent guys.
Yeah, they do. They do. And we're going to see those guys touch the ball. They're going to have some yards this weekend. These guys aren't complete scrubs. But, once again, a wonderful opportunity for a secondary to kind of prove themselves a little bit.
Yeah, defensively, that sucks to lose your top tackler, because I was watching some of their highlights earlier from a couple of their games, and I was like, they have a fairly quick defense. They're a little undersized, of course, on the D-line especially, but they actually have some pretty quick guys. So it's like, to lose your top tackler, that hurts.
And it's just your defensive leader too. It's the quarterback of the defense is now gone. And, a lot of people don't realize it unless they played, but you understand that means a lot for the defense.
Yeah, that hurts. There's not a whole lot of statistics outside of those to look at. Obviously they're putting up a lot of passing yardage. That's what they do. The QB is almost thrown for 1,000 yards already, and the running back room combined literally has 148 yards, to include the minus 55 on 14 sacks, of course.
So you know what that means. This weekend, Hawaii's going to come out and run the ball for at least 55, 60 yards.
Are they throwing it 70 times a game? That's a good question. I'm not sure what the average amount. 128 attempts in 3 games. So
They're just over 40 attempts a game.
And he's put up good yardage.
Through 3 games, that's solid. What's that? 300 and roughly 30 some yards per game?
Almost, 320 something in that range. 323 yards a game. On average.
Yeah, call it that. But when 3 touchdowns a game to this point, he's decent.
Pretty good. But they can't run the ball with crap.
No, and I like how he brings up Tommy Chang as the head coach. I don't know if you guys remember much about Tommy Chang at Hawaii, but Tommy Chang likes to throw the ball, and we're definitely seeing that in this year's 2023 Rainbow Warrior squad.
Well, this team is much improved from his first year last year, with the run and shoot now being installed again for the second year. So they're not going to be very good this year, but they should improve. But as to facing Oregon, that's a tough task.
Yeah. It's a glorified, it's a G5 opponent, but it's a glorified scrimmage. Look at it that way.
Last week the statistic was, and again, I don't go off the whole FPI win total estimator. Last week it was Oregon, I think 67% probability to win, with a -6 line by game time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Hawaii. Oregon, 98.2%. And I'm sorry, hold on. -38.5 projected.
Yeah.
Oh, Hawaii.
Yeah.
That's rough. That's rough.
Did you guys see the early ESPN? Somebody posted it early for Colorado. Has Oregon 92% or something like that?
We'll see that fluctuate a lot, though.
Yeah.
That's what somebody said too. But I was just like, wow, really?
Yeah, really, really, really take that with a grain of salt. That'll be updated once we get into next week and they start looking at it. But it's just kind of like, I don't know if we have any better viewers, but the Oregon line opened up early at -19.5. Now, I think we all kind of sit here and we understand that we don't expect to win by 20. Could we? Absolutely. Not what I'm saying. But I don't think winning by 20 is the expectation. You know what I mean? And that line's already dropped down to something like, I think we're sitting at Oregon -12.5. Don't quote me on it. I did see there was a substantial drop already. but I have a feeling we're going to see that number continue to drop a little bit, and we're probably going to look at a spread something similar to Texas Tech.
Yeah, I'm not going to be surprised about that. So a lot of times I'm not a betting person, so I don't look at the line. But obviously, when you look at those lines, a lot of people know a lot of things or have a good feel and are experienced in doing that.
Oh,
but when you see when you see a line that's minus 38.5 points, that's a pretty confident, like they're going to win by at least 25. At least.
Is that a USC guy? That's one of the USC guys. Got to be.
Which one?
David.
Where's David? I don't see a David.
Yeah, he says he says I don't think Oregon can beat Colorado. Now, hey,
we're not there yet. We're talking about Hawaii. You respect those Rainbow Warriors, damn it.
I gave them respect. I said they got some talent. They got some talent on the outside. They got a quarterback with talent.
Yeah, they probably scored double what Portland State did.
Upward in trajectory.
The key thing for them is they're a pass offense. They are fully a pass offense. They have obviously already 10 touchdowns, 972 yards. Nix through 2 games has 646, which is adjusting to what they had to do with Tech because we couldn't run the ball during that game. So not impressive. I'm actually surprised they only have allowed so far 107 yards a game. Now, and that's including in 3 games, Vanderbilt, Stanford, and of course then Albany. That's pretty decent though. Already in 3 games, only go about 100 yards a game rushing. So Hawaii's line is not but again, not the greatest of competition level, so to say, to compare to.
They have some athletes for sure, though.
So I think Oregon this week has to come out and I think the biggest thing, like we said, is are you worried about a hangover now from the Texas Tech game? Because this is what happens to even some of the best teams. They have a big game, and then the next week they have a lesser competition game. And sometimes that first half is just sluggish. We saw it last year, for instance, after the UCLA game, Oregon went to Cal. And that first half was just pretty crap offensively.
Sure. With that being said, Hawaii is not even a Cal caliber team. Hawaii doesn't have the familiarity with the program like that. I'm going to be real honest here. There are not many things in sports that I can look you in the eyes and say, I guarantee it. But I guarantee this is not a trap game. The Ducks will roll this weekend. It's what it is. I don't think there is anywhere that I can think of on the field that Hawaii matches up better against Oregon than Oregon does against Hawaii. I think it gets ugly this weekend. That's where I think we're at.
Hold on, I have to stop here before Spaz goes on. George, you stop trolling because your Gators suck. All right, George, take your nonsense elsewhere.
Yeah, George.
Get your shit together, George. Everyone fears the Florida Gators. No one fears the Florida Gators, George. No one.
Hey, I fear the Oregon State Beavers more than I fear the Florida Gators.
Yeah, the Beavers.
Yeah. Utah walk through Florida.
Yeah. Get it together, George. Gator.
Georgia jungle. Look out for that tree, George.
What do you think, Spaz? Do you think this would be a little bit of a hangover week? Because, I mean, in the sense of big games, that was one of those games that,
in years past, I would have probably thought this could be a bit of a hangover game.
And I don't mean hangover in the sense we lose the game, but not
right,
as impressive.
I think maybe the first quarter might get a little sluggish, just to start. But then I think eventually it'll just turn into a whitewash. But I definitely think the first quarter there could be a little bit of hangover.
Well, and that's kind of that's why I compared it to Cal last year, because we had that big UCLA game they won it, and then the next week against Cal, that first half was kind of like defensively was fine, but offensively it was just sloppy, kind of. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen. I hope they just come out and they just run it down everyone's throat, just like, nah, we're over that. And I appreciate something we were talking about. We were watching that video, the Go Ducks one earlier a little bit. You guys have seen it multiple times and everything. And at the end of the game, even the players were like, wasn't pretty, but hey, it's like one. So they already know, like, well, that was not how we wanted that to go, but I mean, got it done, you know.
No, for sure. That's one thing. I don't care who's in this comment section over here, whatever team they're cheering for. I promise you this year, you will have an ugly victory at some point. You know, it's probably going to be against a team that you thought you should have wiped the floor with. I don't know why that shit happens. You know, some teams just come out, have that game circled on the calendar, and they say, we want this one. And, you know, it happens.
Yeah,
but
just ask Donald Duck, our Donald Duck Crusader Jackson Johnson. He loves Alabama so much. He loves Texas now.
Hey, Jackson took the bullet on Sunday night and came on the show to talk
He
Alabama
did.
after that loss.
He did. He came on and yep.
Hey, you got to respect what more than likely we're going to be on here at some point after an L. You got to respect it.
So what do we want to see?
As long as it's not against USC, because if it is, I will not be here because I will not face Tim. Nope.
Yes, the enjoyment of the loss game, post-game shows. Those are always extremely fun. Defensive questions. What do we want to see defensively in this game? Because obviously last week, Shuck had so many designed running plays. Now, Hawaii doesn't really do designed quarterback plays that I'm aware of that much. I'm sure they have a few, but their quarterback is not a slouch. He can run the ball. He has run the ball. So what are we trying to look for in the defense as a whole? Because we're going to have to deal with a passing game and then an offense that doesn't really run the ball too much.
Sure. I think, to be real honest with you, the one thing I really want to see this weekend is a complete game by the defense. What I mean by complete game is I don't want to see Hawaii open up, you know, and have a 70-some play scoring drive at the beginning of the game, even if that means Oregon wins by 50. I don't want to see that. I would love to come out and see our defensive front get to the quarterback like they should against an undersized offensive line that's prone to giving up sacks. I would love to see consistent linebacker play this weekend, whether that's being coverage, filling the gaps, you know, just maintaining their assignment. I would love to see consistency on that front. And in the secondary, I would like to see them shut Hawaii down in the passing game. I would really like to see them try to, you know, force them to run the ball, kind of have that secondary establish themselves as a unit. It's a great opportunity against an undersized, under-talented opponent to really kind of give yourself some confidence on all three fronts. So I think what I really want to see is, quite frankly, I want to see them come out and kick their ass this weekend. I wanted to see the defense play this game like it's their last game. I don't care if it's a Hawaii. I think they need some confidence going into a Colorado, going into Pac-12 play in general. So, yeah, I mean, a complete game would be perfect for me.
Eric is smarter than I thought he was.
What'd he say?
He's this dude from Minnesota.
Yo, all right, Eric, let me address this right on the air. No, I'm not from Minnesota, but I am from Wisconsin. So, you know, when you hear
pretty close though.
Yeah, I'm a Wisconsin boy. Lived in Minnesota for a lot of years. So, yeah, leave me alone.
Pretty close. I was like, Eric, you're smarter than I thought he was.
Hey, leave our assistant coach.
Poor Eric.
Leave our assistant coach Lanning Jr. alone, Eric.
Linguistics degree paid off. Hey, man. I don't know. I'm just all you're talking.
That's it. I lived in North Dakota for like almost 2 years, but I never picked up any of that stuff. I've just been all over the place, so I just have this weird accent and stutter or some shit. I don't know what's going on.
It's all right. Everywhere I go, people point it out. It's fine.
Spaz, what are you thinking? What do you want to see defensively compared to the Tech game? Obviously, ignore Portland State. Forget about Portland State. That doesn't exist.
I would just like to see, good defensive coverage with our secondary. I'd like to see a couple of, maybe even a couple of INTs would be nice, and just shut them down end to end. Don't let them get any rhythm going, and just play good, solid defense. No gap wedges, no big chunk plays, just smart, manned up defense. And I really think you should be able to pretty much man these guys up, position for position. You don't need to play any two gap coverage zone defenses or any of that crap. Just play it straight up and show them who's boss.
Well, I have to agree with both of you, as well as both Tony and Raymond here. I mean, with the pass offense, you're going to give up some plays because they're throwing the ball that much. You're going to see that naturally happen. But that's it. I want to see good tight coverage, which we did see quite a bit of in the Tech game. But then, just like Raymond said, it's like no pass interference, not dumb pass interference calls. Let's put it that way. Let's at least see contested, where maybe they get a call against them. And it's like that happens. Mm-hmm. Just not the dumb ones like we saw this last weekend. Don't throw your body into the receiver for no reason because you get scared or you got beat. Don't do that. I mean, I get it. It's that or potentially a touchdown. But those were just so dumb for the most part. It just is hard to watch some of those. So I wanted to see the secondary get cleaned up and just not allow deep over the middle plays, like breakdowns and coverage and stuff like that. Like just shore that up, make them work for it at least. That's the hope, anyways.
Absolutely, best case scenario, and that kind of goes back to the linebacker play as well. Holding assignments, being able to do their jobs, do what they have to do, especially in coverage. They were getting beat last week, and like I said, probably more a product of what Texas was doing in terms of alignment, formations, and schematics. But there's definite area for improvement. This is a wonderful game to try to get that confidence instilled.
Eric, be nice. One, I don't believe they actually have a Rainbow Warrior mascot, so that's not going to happen. Be nice. Again, I don't even know if they still call themselves the Rainbow Warriors. I think we talked about this on Saturday a little bit before the show. I was like, do they still call themselves the Rainbow Warriors? And it was like, or are they just the Warriors now? And
they are the Rainbow Warriors. It is confirmed.
Okay. I couldn't remember. I was like, I thought they got rid of that. And then you're like, no, I think they brought it back. I'm like, no, I don't know.
Yeah, they went through a whole little controversy, but it's back.
Let's see here. There was a couple good comments here. Actually, I wanted to address it just because out of curiosity. We're going to address these in a second because we have one other thing we have to get to also. But this week also, there's been news. I think most people are aware of Mel Tucker's situation.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
No, Dan Lanning is not going to Michigan State. People, get over yourselves.
Yeah, there was a thing that went out and gained traction on social media that Michigan State and Dan Lanning had mutual interest in each other. Which, for one, stop. Because first, Mel Tucker's not fired yet. Two, if they fire him, do they owe him money or not because of cause? Three, Oregon just extended Dan Lanning and paid him more money. And four, we're going to the Big Ten, so why the hell would he leave Oregon to go to Michigan State in the Big Ten? That makes no sense. It makes no sense. So for all the trolls out there, I highly doubt that Dan Lanning is trying to look to go to Michigan State.
So let me, because there are people out here who are going to watch this video and they're going to be like, oh, but how do you know? let me just walk everybody through this. So I definitely dug into this a little bit as to where this leak came from, who this person is, what this individual. So the report that people are looking at initially that had caused a little bit of concern on some duck forums across the internet was a man named James Watts on Twitter. Now, James Watts on Twitter claims that he is a Fox Sports Michigan State insider, all fine and dandy. The problem with Mr. Watts, the profile was created the same day the leak was given. There is no affiliation with Fox Sports Public Employment and anybody named James Watts. There is no public Michigan State employee by the name of James Watts. If you go on the internet, this man does not exist, period. It's a fake account, basically. He has 5 followers. His followers are nobody with any sort of affiliation. So let's just shut this down right quick. There was one rumor, and this rumor came from basically a troll account that was created one day ago.
The account, I think, was made like a month ago, too. It wasn't like it had been around or something like that. But it gained traction immediately. I'm like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
If I look up right now, it says September 2023. So this account was just created. His very first tweet was that tweet.
That's a troll account, 100%.
So, like I said, Duck fans, and then how does this make any sense? So if there's anybody in the comments who just wants to try to argue this and drop some logic that Dan's going anywhere, this man just signed a $29.1 million deal for 6 years with a $20 million buyout on an ascending contract, which is a $200K bump every year that he's with the team under this contract.
Plus all the bonuses he gets for any bowl game appearances. I'm sure there's other stuff in yeah.
It's bowl games, it's college football playoff, it's 10-win seasons, it's Pac-12 conference championships, it's champion appearances. Yeah. So I mean, there are so many incentives and so many reasons that it would not make any sort of sense at all. And to Michigan State's not paying a $20 million buyout. I saw one fan on Twitter who is like, oh, well, they're not going to end up having to pay Mel Tucker, which is not true because we don't know that at all. That's going to be a whole different battle that's going to be taking place after they officially fire him, which is going to happen.
Right. I mean, I'm sorry. Yeah, too. I mean, like one, do they have to pay Mel Tucker? So imagine if they had to pay him the guarantee money, which I don't know what that is, probably like 40 mil. Mm-hmm. They couldn't afford Dan Lanning at this point with a buyout. They couldn't even afford him if they wanted to. And again, why would he go to another team that's way worse in the same conference they're going to, where he's already building up his team? This is not Mario Cristobal going back to his alma mater, or something like that. Dan Lanning has no association or affiliation with the Big Ten, really, or anything like that. He doesn't really have affiliation with any actual program other than, Georgia, maybe Memphis. And Memphis, he wouldn't go there to be a head coach. He's already a Power 5 coach. So, I mean, and I don't think Kirby Smart's going anywhere anytime soon. So,
I'm going to be real. I mean, if maybe if this were a case where, they're like, oh, Georgia wants Dan Lanning, obviously completely fictional, fabricated scenario. But maybe something like that, I would be more prone to be like, give it even a thought. A Michigan State, I'm not giving it a thought. There's zero affiliation. He has zero ties to Michigan State. Why would this man want to go live in Lansing, Michigan? I mean,
this right here,
Michigan State would be better off to go after somebody like Mike Elko, or even as somebody pointed out, maybe Jonathan Smith. Because who knows where the Beavers are going to end up next year. So, I mean, is Jonathan Smith poachable? Very possible.
I don't know. He's like Mike Riley. He loves Oregon State. I don't think he's going to. But Mike Elko, Unnecessary Roughness said that earlier or yesterday during a live stream they were doing. They were like, if I was Duke, I'd be shelling out money to lock down Mike Elko right now because he is probably going to be the first person they try to poach because he's cheap to buy from Duke. I would lock Mike Elko down in a heartbeat if I was Duke at this moment.
Mm-hmm. David Portnoy says, how funny would it be if Dion just up and left Colorado for Michigan State?
Would MSU want to take another coach from Colorado? I mean, I guess it's Dion. It's not Mel Tucker. They overpaid Mel Tucker. That was the dumbest decision I've ever seen a team do, I think. I mean, he didn't even win at Colorado.
No.
He didn't even win there. So, I mean, why would
he didn't even win at Colorado. I don't know why they
He went like 5-7 in 1 year, and then they were like, here's a ton of money.
Yeah, come over here.
I don't know, Eric. Jonas Smith was an Oregon State quarterback. I mean, I don't think I think he's one of those few people that has a real alliance to his team, like a commitment to that brand, which is very respectable. I like that. That's one thing that we're losing in college football is that whole attachment to those programs. And I think Jonathan Smith, kind of like Mike Riley was, where he just stayed there forever. He finally left at one point because he's like, okay, this is going so downhill, I'm not fixing it. I'm going to gracefully walk away at this point.
Yeah, I'd be.
Have like Gary Anderson come in.
Gary Anderson had Gary Anderson had some problems. He did some dumb things, but he's not necessarily a bad coach. He did some questionable things. This is a question though. Hey, chat, while we're here, because with all due respect to Hawaii, there's not a whole lot to talk about Hawaii. With all due respect to the Rainbow Warriors. So if you guys have any questions for us specific to the team or the season or upcoming games in general, not just Hawaii necessarily, or about Texas Tech, or personal question, whatever, ask us in the chat, and we'll try to shoot off some while we're here. Because there was one here from Brandon Lee. I'm assuming this is you, Derek, because you're from Wisconsin.
Wisconsin? What do we got? How did you end up a Duck fan? Well, I mean, to be real honest, when I was a little kid, I'm talking little kid, I thought it was absolutely insane that there was a team out there that were named the Ducks. And, that was around the time Joey Harrington was doing his thing. And, I thought they were sick. I thought they were really cool. And my family, they're big Badger fans. They're like, you're never going to stick with it. You're a Badger. You're never going to be a Duck fan. Because of that statement, I made it a point to make sure I stuck with it all the way through. And I mean, fortunately, I got to see the Dennis Dixon years and Jeremiah Masoli transitioning into, the Oregon powerhouse that was Darren Thomas and Marcus Mariota. So, yeah, I don't know, man. It was a weird way to start the fandom, but here I am.
Well, and Spaz, you currently still live in Oregon, so.
Yeah, I've been a Duck fan ever since I was a kid. I grew up in Beaver Country, 10 miles from OSU, but one of my best friends in high school ended up going to the University of Oregon, and when I was 17, he invited me down to my first frat party at U of O because he was living on campus, and I've been a Duck fan ever since. My first game was Chris Miller, quarterback, and they beat the Cal Bears.
Oh, people have always
I got so drunk, I don't remember. The only thing I remember of that frat party the entire night was apparently somebody got it on video that I was so drunk I was eating shaving cream out of an Army helmet.
I don't know if you needed to share that. I don't know if you needed to share that information.
For some reason, I'm really not surprised you just said that. Oh dear God!
That's it for me.
Yeah, I love that party.
Well, that's it for me. I've lived in Texas for like 15 years total now, with a little break here and there in other places. But I grew up in Oregon, outside Portland, and half our family was kind of like Oregon, and half of them was OSU. Like my great uncle was a ticket holder for OSU, as he graduated law school there, or at least his pre-law degree there, and he would roll over his grave if he knew I had become a Duck fan. later on in life. He would hate me, but that's how it goes. And no matter where you go, it is. And then yes, the true Duck fan right here.
That's what I'm saying. This is what I'm talking about, Duck fans. If you are not on this level, you are not a true Duck fan. This man is.
There you go.
It's just like I can't imagine the story. It's like, Mommy, when did you, Daddy? Oh, at the Duck game. Like, what? We were up by 3 scores. We were bored.
Right. In the parking lot, baby.
It was probably. I know. I think I've heard Eric say this before. It was in. Wasn't it in a locker room?
He said it was during the pick specifically.
I think he said it was in one of the shower room or locker rooms or something like that. I think he said that before a while back. I was like, what?
Oh God.
They missed the pick specifically, and then have to deal with Eric now.
Yeah, but then this legend was born. So hey,
this legend was born.
Oh God. See, Raymond gets it. You know what I mean? That man was taking it to a literal level.
Oh God. H&R picking stuff. I can't answer that. I know we have it here in Texas now. We didn't several years ago, and then they started coming here. Oregon probably does have Yingling these days.
I've lived a lot of places. The only place I've ever seen it in person, like where it's available, was when I was living in the Boston area.
What the hell is Yingling a beer?
Yingling. It's a Pennsylvania beer. It's out of Pennsylvania, but yeah, about 4 or 5 years ago, you couldn't find it much outside of the Northeast, but now over the last like 2 or 3 years, it's grown. Actually is the oldest U.S. brewery, I believe.
Huh. Yeah, it's a solid beer for sure.
And by the way, George, that was a subsidy store. That was not the main Nike store. Learn your facts or go back to Florida.
I thought that was the original Portland. That was the original Nike Portland store.
No, it was not the original Nike store.
Oh, okay. Well, it was the biggest. It was the biggest one then. Maybe it was the biggest one.
No, it was. It's literally a corner store. My sister's house is like 2 blocks from there. It was literally just a corner shoe store that was built. They might be talking about the one downtown though. I'm not sure.
I think it was the big one that it's been shut down for a year, and then they finally just said, yeah, we're closed.
That was the corner store on Martin Luther King. I don't think the downtown one is closed yet. I think it's still open. It might be closed. I'll have to look into that.
The one there in Portland has been closed, I think, for like 8-9 months, and now they think they're officially just going to shut it down, like officially. But yeah, the Nike headquarters, yes, is in Beaver. The headquarters of Nike, yes.
Because there's two Nike stores. There's one downtown, and then there's one up by the Moda Center. And the one up by the Motor Center was hit in 2020 by all the rioters.
It's this one, I believe. It's this one, the MLK. It's been shut down since the rioting.
Yes.
But now they've officially said, yeah, we're not reopening.
Yeah.
They're
That's not the main
it.
downtown. There's one downtown on 6th that was the original Nike store. And then then they opened the branch one on MLK.
Yeah, I've seen multiple stories about this, like HR pick and stuff. Yeah,
flags. Yeah, downtown's still open.
Yeah, there is one though they had shut down for a while, but they're not going to reopen it apparently, which I don't.
Yeah, it's because it was massacred during the riots.
There were videos of people walking out with armloads of jerseys. I mean,
and
like
shoes.
armloads.
Yeah,
I'm like, damn, that's a lot of money. That's a lot. You think 60, $70 per jersey, and you've got like 30 in your arms, and there's like 10 people a day walking out with that. Like, yeah, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
Shit, definitely.
Well, I don't do George. You live in Portland, so he does. George lives in Portland. The Gator fan from Portland, Oregon.
The Portland Gators?
The Portland Gators.
George is the Portland Gator?
Yeah, he lives in Portland. Yeah.
Hey, George, shouldn't you be worrying about like Vanderbilt or someone Florida's caliber? Like, isn't that what you should be doing with your night?
Poor George.
Well, no, bro, it's no disrespect. I mean, Vanderbilt's a very high quality university, not so much a football team.
Well, yeah, they're right behind their stadium. Again, we talked about this. It was funny because when they played Hawaii, their scoreboard was held up by a crane. It was just floating in the wind. But on the opposite side of the stadium, the dance complex is bigger than the stadium. Like the Performing Arts Center, it's bigger than the football stadium.
I reiterate my point.
Poor George. Yeah, exactly. My poor hometown.
George, I told you to watch out for that tree.
George of the jungle. Watch out for the tree. I think George has hit a few too many trees. We're not talking about that place, Eric. Don't bring that up. The stream will get blocked. Don't talk about that. I did. I put up a short on my other channel where literally it got like partial limitation for monetization because I had one word in the title, and they just blocked it. And I'm like, what? The YouTube police. All right, H&R, picking stuff.
Oh man, I love our little trolls.
H&R is not really even that much of a troll, not compared to George.
Oh no, that's George was more who I was referring to, but you know it is.
Well, gentlemen, is there anything else we want to cover specific to the Hawaii game? Because, again, unfortunately for Hawaii, being at home, for us, I don't really see a whole lot of issue outside of maybe like the first quarter. You know, they give it their all, as I expect them to do against us. But I think especially after the first quarter, you're going to see Oregon just beat them down.
Yeah, I think it gets ugly early, if I'm being quite frank. I think Dan Lanning said they played something like 81 total players in that Portland State game. I don't necessarily think we see 81, but I think we see at least 70-some players can touch the field. We're going to see a deep rotation of guys, especially in that second half. So, I mean, yeah, it's going to get ugly.
I don't think we have to worry about block punts in this game. That was unfortunate to see during the Texas Tech game. I almost forgot about that until the Saturday night show when we were talking about it. I was like, oh, yeah, because that almost was a killer.
You know, that's something I didn't even think about either. Yeah. I mean, hopefully we're not seeing a block punt this weekend.
I mean, unless we're blocking the punt. That'd be great. That would be good. If our special teams could do that.
Oh, Ben, I did have one more piece of Duck news that we didn't touch on that I know a lot of people were up in arms about this weekend. Okay. So I know this past weekend, a lot of fans were kind of wondering where Chris Hudson was. What's going on with him? Is he on the team? You know, a lot of people were like, oh, he's in the transfer portal. He's gone. Well, it was reported today. He was at practice, was in pads. At least he was working with the return group today. So Chris Hudson is still with the program. He's still practicing. So for what it's worth, this is all speculation, but what I'm going to guess is probably happening right now is there was probably an injury that took place that probably took a little bit longer to heal than they would have liked. And just looking at the longevity of the season, understanding it probably meant more to have him healthy for the long term. So once again, that's speculation, but he is back to practice. He is in pads. Was working with the returners today. So that's where we're at.
Well, that's important because that was one of the things we had no idea about. We could not answer on Saturday. We were like, who knows? I mean,
well, right. I don't even know if he traveled. I know a lot of people had reported they didn't see him on the sidelines or anywhere else in the stadium. So, I mean, to this point, at least to my knowledge, I'm still led to believe he didn't even travel with the team. So it is promising to know that if he did not travel and he is back at practice already early this week, it probably means it was more than likely an injury situation that was taking place. You know, it could have been personal matters. I'm not sure what's going on, but we do know he's at practice. Could expect to see him.
Yeah, I did not see him on the sideline like at all. Like I said, I saw Casper on the sideline and stuff like that. I saw all of our normal guys. I did not see Hudson, so I'm not sure if he was there or not. Maybe he was just sitting down somewhere. I didn't see him, so that was why it was a huge question mark for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of curious to see if we're able to see him this weekend, because I believe, at least once again, not to my knowledge, but I don't think anyone has addressed it with Coach Lanning, at least in interviews that I've been able to get my hands on and see myself. So yeah, I'm kind of curious to see what's been going on too with Chris Hudson though.
I don't know. Spaz, what are you expecting or hoping to see, or any other updates or details that you have for this weekend against the mighty Rainbow Warriors?
None really. I'm ready for Pac-12 season to start. I'm ready to get done with my vacations and get into football. I got one more vacation this weekend, and then it's football season. Summer will be over with.
George, you're a closet Duck fan. Get out of here.
Yo, George, Dave Portnoy, that man too. Everybody loves the Ducks around these parts. I don't care what they say. I don't care who their profile picture is. We're all Duck fans around here.
Especially when you have three sexy co-hosts like this.
See, look at George. This man's admitting it right here in the comments. He says, Oregon is definitely my second favorite team in Oregon. The way I'm looking at it, he still gives them a silver medal. So, yeah, George, you're a Duck fan. I hate to tell you, brother.
His number one must be like
Portland State.
Don't you guys have like an Eastern Oregon?
Or Eastern. That's what I was thinking of. Eastern Oregon College, where I think Mark Helfrich played.
Oh, there we go.
Mount Hood.
I think it was Eastern Oregon, where Mark Helfrich played.
Fair
Mount Hood Community College.
Mount Hood Community College. Oh, God. Well, I think I'm like you guys. I just want to see us get a fast start. Just be done with the game at halftime. Don't worry about running up the score. Just do your thing. Get your reps. Fix some of the issues you saw. Watch the defense play better. No penalties. No penalties. You just eliminate the penalties, the Texas Tech game wouldn't have been near as close.
No.
Well, if we just look at one penalty alone, the Kyrie Jackson PI on 3rd and 18, if that play in itself does not happen, I mean, it's hard to know what happens, but I think the whole trajectory of that game changes substantially.
Oregon might have gone up like 22 to 7.
And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know, they were scoring at that point in the game. You know, I think it could have become a 2-3 score game real quick, but you know, sometimes the cards don't fall that way. Bonehead mistakes happen, and you overcome adversity and move on to 1-0.
Which again, I have to say for all the trolls out there that commented on the Oregon football short of a win is a win, that said, "Oh, the refs gave the game away." Yes, the refs gifted the Oregon Ducks with 124 yards and penalties. Yes, the refs were definitely trying to give away the game.
Wait, that was a real narrative? Like, somebody actually said that?
It's just the trolls, of course, blaming the refs because they were Pac-12 refs. It's like, that's why the Ducks got 124 yards and penalties. Yeah.
All right. Hey, and
not the 5 turnovers that Tech did, you know.
No, that had nothing to do with it. Yeah. What do I know?
Who knows? We're all just, armchair warriors and coaches over here. I mean, not like, no, we don't watch football or anything. No.
I think George is actually that other Beaver guy. I think that's actually Connor in disguise.
No, that is George. That is a legitimate Florida Gator fan. That is George. He's a legend. George is a legend. Just for that, I'm going to give you something here. And there you go. George is a legend around these parts. He's all over the place on multiple channels.
Hey, I just love the engagement. That man keeps me laughing.
He just has to hide a lot because, Florida sucks. So he hides.
That's fair. Hey, speaking of, George, isn't Florida about to get beat by 25 this weekend? Play UT? Yeah, I think, man, that might get that might get up.
They host Tennessee, right?
Bro, it don't matter. Home, away, neutral.
No, I'm just saying, I think they host Tennessee this weekend, though, yeah.
I think they do, actually. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're in Gainesville.
Oh, shit. Well, I'm glad I just saw that. Think about that, gentlemen. We're not done yet. Hold on. We're not done yet. After last week's debacle of 6 points, because Derek is a greedy bastard over there and likes to just ruin my day after I walk back from a stadium. Derek and Spaz here, Mr. Quack Quack, are in lead, tied at 1 point each for score predictions. It is score prediction time, gentlemen, and I need a final score for both of you for the Hawaii game. Now, in tradition, well, I say tradition is in the third week, second week technically of this tradition. Derek, because you won last week, you get to go first on the score prediction for Hawaii at Oregon.
Sure. I came prepared. I thought long and hard about this.
You thought a lot about this.
Long and hard. I spent numerous seconds thinking about this prediction before I wrote it down on paper. I was running through every scenario I could possibly think of it, and I have the exact score this weekend. Just so in case you bettors want to go out there, put the score in. The final score this weekend is. I
will say this. We'll adjust something. If you get the correct score perfectly, like offense,
yep.
like both teams scores perfect, you get
2 points.
Yeah, you get 2 points. That's a huge advantage. That is a huge advantage.
That is. With that being said, I think Hawaii gets on the board this weekend. Hate to tell you guys, I got 56-13 Ducks.
56-13. Okay. All right. We don't have Sean here, so I will just have to ask him for a text, and he's cheating because he's listening to your score predictions right now, and then going to balance somewhere in the middle between all of ours. So Spaz, because you also are a winner, you get to go. I don't know if it's good to go first or not. Sometimes I don't know if it's good because you don't want to duplicate scores, but at the same time, like. Spaz is thinking hard over there.
66-13.
66-13. Okay. All right.
Hawaii. Neither one of you caught that, didn't you?
What'd you say, Spaz? I'm sorry.
I said 66-13. Hawaii.
Oh.
You heard it. Write it down.
I'm writing it down. Spaz said Hawaii is the last Oregon. That is on record twice now. That's on record twice.
Spaz, I will say if that does happen, though, you will be the biggest fucking legend on this internet. So
I'll be like, damn, jokingly, he got it right. I'm on board with more Spaz over what David said. I think Oregon's going to come out with a purpose this weekend. I do think Hawaii's going to put up a couple touchdowns because of their passing offense. When you play someone that passes that much, it's hard to stop the entire game, especially if you're rotating guys in the second half. I am actually going to go Oregon 73-17.
Oh, you stole what I was going to roll with.
I think 73-17. I think that you're going to see Will Stein jacking up Bo Nix's numbers a little bit in his Heisman campaign. And I think you're going to start seeing a lot more points put on the board for him because of that. So unless something goes disastrously, just is a disaster and something falls apart, I think that they're going to try to run it up a little bit.
Yeah, I think we see something very similar to how the Bo Nix situation was handled against Portland State. I think we're going to see him maybe play into, early third quarter, and then it's probably going to be tie time again. So, I mean, I don't want to say Ty's not going to march down the field and score every possession, but, I mean, that's kind of my logic on holding it at 56 here this weekend.
I think the running game is going to show up much better this week. I think that's a big thing. Hawaii has done good, not allowing rush yards, but not against great teams. And I think you're going to see the Oregon O-line impose their will this week again. And George, you live in Oregon. Stop hating.
What are you saying? 7 million, there will be 75 people watching Oregon play football. You're damn right, George. And here's 3 of them right here.
They're playing Hawaii. That's why.
And it's on the Pac-12 network. There's
literally
there's 100 people that have the Pac-12 network in.
It's sad. I have to bootleg stream these games when they're on the Pac-12 network because I don't get that shit here in SoCal.
Yeah, it's like George just drove by the Austin Stadium on Saturday. Well, yeah, I got it. George was talking about, on TV, exactly. I was like, it's on the Pac-12 network.
No, he's probably right.
There was another question here because I just brought it up. Tony brought. I can't scroll. I can't scroll back that far. When Colorado comes, which next week we'll get into because that's the 4th game.
Mm-hmm.
What are the chances? Now, the only reason I say the chances are probably slim is because game day is going to Colorado State this weekend, apparently. Because someone said, what is the chance that they go there for the Oregon-Colorado game? And I was like, they don't like to do teams back-to-back weeks.
Probably not happening.
They won't.
Yeah. Like they do not like doing that. Otherwise, yes, I could see it because it'd be like number probably 10 Oregon against maybe number 15 or 16 Colorado. And that'd be a hell of a game. But, yeah, I highly doubt it. Plus, week 4. That's a good point right there.
Yep,
Ohio
Tony's
State,
got it.
Notre Dame.
Right on the head.
Florida State, Clemson, or Ohio State, Notre Dame. They're going to go Florida State, Clemson because Fox will go to Ohio State.
Yeah, it'll be.
They did do a game the same day last year together. Not together, but they were at the same game, just opposite the stadium last year. So who knows? But yeah, it'll be one of those.
I don't see them doing the Notre Dame Ohio State game because of it being ABC with ESPN being linked with ABC. I definitely think it's going to be that Florida State Clemson game absolutely next week.
Probably.
Yeah.
Ohio State with Fox, maybe that's why Fox will probably go there themselves too, if they do. Who knows? Yeah, we'll see. I think ESPN will go to, for the first Duck game, I think ESPN will show up at Washington for game day against Ducks and Huskies because we'll both most likely be, if we get through Colorado, we'll be undefeated and Huskies will probably be undefeated. And you'll be talking a number 7 versus 8 matchup, if not higher ranked than that even.
Oh, yeah. Someone's probably losing.
Week 7, yeah.
I think it'll be a top 10 matchup most likely if we're undefeated. So I think.
Derek, you going to fly up for the Husky game?
Yeah, I don't know. Probably not. The last time I was at Husky Stadium, I had some great memes there, but unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be the case here in 2023.
Why the hell would you say I had great memes?
Ben, because
what type of slang is this?
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me enunciate. Memes, a.k.a. memories. I had wonderful memories in Husky Stadium.
Shortcutting the words. I'm like, memes? What the hell is that? I know what it means, but I was like, what?
Yeah, it's the memes. You got good ones, you got bad ones, you got memes.
I have bad memes of tortillas flying around my head, Texas Tech. It was scary. The first kickoff.
I just got informed yesterday by my good friend who's one of the head of securities down in Eugene that there's a good possibility that him and I just might stroll on into the USC game.
Yeah, it'd be a great game to be at for sure.
Yeah.
I would love to get up there for one of those, but both of those games are going to be expensive, I'm sure. So I was like, yeah, no, I'm not going to fly all the way.
USC's like probably going to be about a $300, $400 ticket.
Yeah, and I mean the
Washington Colorado's already at 200 plus.
Oh yeah, that shot up immediately as soon as Colorado now went. They're going to be I mean, unless Colorado State beats them somehow, I doubt it. They're going to be undefeated. Oregon will be undefeated. It's a top 15 matchup next week, So, but we have to get into that next week. So, relax, viewers, relax. We're not spoiling everything. We have to have something to talk about next week. So,
yeah, because the recap for Hawaii will be in 5 minutes.
Yeah, the post game for this one probably will be mostly about how bad our defense looked or how good our offense looked. We're going to have to see how that goes.
I was going to say, speaking of, drop in Saturday for the post game.
There you go. And that's what I was going to say before I put this banner up, actually. Derek, please promote yourself to the loyal viewers here of the show.
Yeah, so as always, mainly active on Twitter. You can follow me right there, down there. Twitter at Wait Who's Derek. Interact with me. I love it. I love the trolls. It's a good time on Twitter.
Derek, have you followed me yet on Twitter?
Oh, Spaz, let me find out. Well, speaking of, this is a wonderful opportunity. What's your Twitter, Spaz? Tell the people.
There you go. Type in the chat, Steven, with a link. I'll create a banner one day for all this.
Yeah, you're fired there, Ben.
I am.
Whoa,
I'm slacking over here.
That's who they hit the wrong.
Oh my God. Spaz is trying to type.
Oh. Oh, goodness.
There he goes. There it is.
There.
Spaz at the Rocky Classic on Twitter. That's where you find this man right here in the bottom here. Make sure you follow these two.
How did you get that in there?
There you go.
How do you get that in here?
We can talk about that after the show. We'll go over that. Yeah, we'll go over that. But there's Spaz's at Twitter handle there, the Rocky Classic. Follow him there. And of course, just like as usual, normal, that I'm here and everywhere. Just here, Exploring with Ben on Twitter, or Exploring with Ben and Sam here on YouTube for our normal channel. Not football related, but check us out as always. Hit that subscribe. And again, thank you everyone here. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button for here, the voice of college football. And then always, every week, please check us out Saturdays or Fridays. I think this year, right now, we only have one Friday game scheduled, but every Saturday, post game for the Oregon show right here on the Oregon channel for the voice of college football, as well as then every Tuesday, 9 p.m. Central, 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern, right here for the Oregon Ducks live show. And you can then join me and a lot of times Spaz on Sunday nights for the After Dark show on the main channel for Mark Rogers. Well, sorry, Hawaii. This is not going to be a fun weekend for you guys. Not going to be a fun week. So, once again, with that, thank you, gentlemen, very much. And we will all see you guys at the post game this weekend and next Tuesday right here on the Oregon Ducks channel on the Voice of College Football.